Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to BT Media's In Conversation With series. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Lee McQueen, who is CEO of Phoenix 51, the Raw Talent Academy, and previous winner of BBC One's The Apprentice. Good afternoon, Lee.
Afternoon, Dan. How's things?
I'm very well, thank you. So the first thing I need to ask you, actually, because you've got it in your background, is what is that McQueen 40 shirt and who signed it?
Well, it is. It isn't famous people that have signed it, but they're famous to me because they're all my friends and family. Unfortunately, the 40 means that I have clicked over to the big 40, and it is a Tottenham Hotspur shirt, the mighty Tottenham Hotspur, which I thought I'd bring up early doors, Dan, to get it out of the way because you mentioned to me that you brought up in North London, so you're either Tottenham or you're not.
I'm Chelsea.
Oh, you're Chelsea. Interesting. Oh, well, there you go. Been
just hit 40.
Spurs fan since I was 8 or 9. Yeah. I think it was Coventry FA Cup final was the first 87. Real game. Yeah, 87. So what's that? The 35 years or so.
You haven't won anything since. So there you go. Anyway, we'll move on.
Yeah, exactly. It's been limited, mate. It's been limited.
Well, this is going to end quickly, I think, this interview. Going to fall out. Lee, obviously, we're here, I guess, predominantly to talk about your new venture, Phoenix 51. But it would be remiss of me not to ask you about what you've done before that. So
for sure.
Can you bring Lee McQueen to life from a career perspective and just give us a sense of what you've been up to?
Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned the Apprentice journey. I'm sure we'll touch on it. But let me start way back in the day because I think it really just gives us some context around the type of character that I am. And I do think that, there's certain characteristics or certain behaviors that human beings or people have, which is why they're successful or they're not so successful. They go on to do what they do, and I think mine is coming back from my humble beginning. So my dad's a milkman, or he's retired now. 42 years a milkman.
Wow.
And we grew up in northwest London, South Islip. Mum, doctor's receptionist, grew up in a council house, an ex-council house that ended up buying it in the Maggie Thatcher days, I think, for those of you old enough to remember them. He was a milkman. So I'd do 2 paper rounds and I'd go on a Saturday on his float, jump on halfway round and get extra pocket money. And that's just my upbringing. That's just the way that that we were. So I think, for me, my foundation's always been built on kind of hard work. I was one of the kids that never had all of the bright lights and all of the brand new stuff. I had the second-hand BMXs that mum would make better, take the rust off, and that would be good. The hand-me-downs thing. And when everyone else was wearing kind of Reebok and Nike, I was the kid in high-tech trainers. So that, not that there's anything wrong with high-tech now. They're probably back in fashion.
Yeah, there are.
But that was exactly. There you go. So that was that was a bit of background for me. And I wasn't brilliant at school academic wise. I didn't get brilliant GCSEs, but I was a practical person. So put a task in front of me and I can get it done. But actually put me in an exam scenario and I'm completely useless and I fall apart. So my education wasn't brilliant. And we grew up in an era, certainly show my age with the picture behind me, but I grew up in an era where you were told that if you didn't go to university, you basically failed. Right, you had to go to uni, to otherwise you was going to be a failure. So that was quite tough. My parents split up when I was 17, and I ended up buying my first house when I was 18 years old because I went out, worked 2 jobs, I was renting, and it was probably my first foray, Dan, in kind of business. Thinking, why am I renting when actually I could buy my own asset? I went to my bank manager and I said to him, can I have a mortgage? And they kind of laughed me out of the bank. They said, look, you need to do certain things, which was earn money and, pay slips and whatever. So I took another job, took 2 jobs, worked hard, worked 7 days a week and got my mortgage. That really kind of set me on my way. And I think that was probably the first time, like I say, that from a business perspective, I really started to want to drive my career and have a career. Do you get what I mean? Rather than just do a normal job.
Instead of work for somebody, you wanted to sort of be master of your own destiny, I guess.
Yeah, exactly that. I fell into recruitment 20 years ago, which was fantastic, obviously, because I've been in it 20 years. Love the fact that it was all about people and changing, developing people, and obviously earning money as well. Because my focus was earning money with the mortgage that I had at such an early age. And I was good at it, Dan. I was really good at it. I was good at talking to people. I was good at finding the right angles and speaking and interviewing and I made some really, really good money out of it. And fast forward, I ended up working for a massive corporate organization called Capita. And I was there for 2 stints, actually. The first stint for 6.5 years, ended up being a sales and delivery manager, managing a 32 million turnover business.
Wow.
And I walked into one day and I had a post-it note on an application form on my desk. And I ripped the post-it note off and it said, fill me out, apprentice application. And there's
you put it on your desk?
Story. It was on my desk, for one of my team. Put it on my desk.
Oh, really? Right.
Okay. Fill that out.
So they thought you were going to be a natural in it.
Well, I think it was just, it might have just been a bit of fun, but you know what? I think fortune favours the brave sometimes. So I just went, okay, I'll do it. I'll fill it out. So I filled it out and popped it off in the post, as you do.
Yeah.
Didn't think anything of it. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from the apprentice lot saying, do you want to come for an interview? There's 20,000 candidates that were interviewing for the process during that time.
Yeah.
And I was going to be one of them. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's give it a go.
Did you have to do like a video application, or was it just written? Or
there was no video then. It was you had to send a picture of yourself in. So I had to get my best side, which I don't know which side that is anymore. Yeah. You had to send like a little passport picture in.
Yeah.
And there was lots of questions on there about who you are and what your beliefs are and kind of how you will teach Sir Alan, because he was Sir Alan and of course Lord Sugar, and how you would teach Sir Alan certain things. It's like, quite bizarre, but ultimately that probing, it was actually a very good application, really, because they started to use that during your interview process, but also during the show. Sure. For those of you, for those of the listeners and the people that are watching, if you understand the concept of The Apprentice, it is like a giant assessment center, right? People assessment center, that's what it is. Yeah. And they use that information not against you, but to probe you during that process. No more so than in the interviews right at the end, which I have to say, Dan, is the hardest interview process that you'll probably ever go through. So it left me in good stead.
I'm actually I've got Claudine Collins. I know she was sort of before your time.
I know Claudine. Yeah, I know Claudine. Yeah.
So I've got her on the channel in a couple of weeks. So, but I know she wasn't one of your interview viewers, was she, at the time?
No, she didn't interview. She didn't. Yeah, I was before her time.
Yeah. So The Apprentice, really, as you say, it was almost like a sort of ongoing psychometric testing of different skills.
It's not so much psychometric; it's more people assessment.
Yeah,
it's about observing, watching, seeing. If you think about it, this is where I get you're gaining my passion in. This is the career that we've ended up building, or ended up building through the 2 businesses that I've set up. But if you think about taking somebody on in a role, whether or not if it's a sales role, if it's a professional services role, if it's an electrician, if it's a whatever the role that you're going into. Yes, you need certain skills, actual skills, but the majority of the time when you're hiring a permanent member of staff, it is around culture, values, and behaviours. That is ultimately what it's about. Yes, Dan, you've got this skill, and Lee, you've got that skill, but I can teach you them skills. Yeah. I can't teach you attitude. I can't teach you how to behave. I can't teach you, that pure competence that you've actually got. And that's what people assessment does, and that's what The Apprentice is. If you think about it, Lord Sugar sets out 12 different tasks, business style tasks that is going to test you in different ways. It's your sales skills, your leadership skills, your teamwork skills, whatever it is. And all they're doing each week is they're watching, they're observing, they're seeing. We're just doing it in The Apprentice in front of, I think it was 11 million people watch me in the final, 9 million people on average each week. So we're just putting our skills or our competencies out there in front of everybody. But typically it's in a giant assessment center to watch, to observe, to see. Actually, can this individual perform under pressure? Can these individuals perform in a team? Has this individual got leadership skills? And once you've got kind of a picture of that, it enables you to make a better decision in terms of, am I going to win The Apprentice or not? And lucky enough for me, I did.
Yeah, because we only, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. We only, obviously, as viewers, we only see a snippet of each bit, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, what period is it filmed over? How long?
So you actually see 12 weeks. It's actually filmed over 6.5. So it's quite condensed, probably 7. If I had a couple of days on after, filming and stuff. What's really bizarre about that is it is literally constant. People watching think, you idiots, why are you doing that way? Why are you doing this way? But again, I'm going back. It might have changed a little bit now. I'm going back in 2008. Well, we wasn't allowed to use the internet. So, the first thing, if I said to you now, right, I need you to go and, sell me some fish in a market. The first thing you'll do is you go on the internet and go, right, which fish market should I go to? What fish should I sell? We didn't have any of them tools. Not that it was that old. It's just they banned you from using the internet.
Which makes sense,
so,
right?
Yeah, of course. So you had to test your own initiative. That's what it was about.
Yeah. So obviously you did win it. Why do you think you won it?
Well, it definitely wasn't to do with my CV, that's for sure. It might have been something to do with a reverse pterodactyl. For those of you who haven't seen it,
I'm not going to ask you to do that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Go Google it, and you'll be able to see it. I think, to be honest, I mean, I'm the only candidate to date, unless somebody, an apprentice stato, wants to kind of correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm the only candidate to date that has never been in the final 3 of the boardroom. So I was never up for being fired. And the reason why I personally believe that is because I went back to my roots and I decided that I was just going to be myself. I was going to work hard. I was going to build relationships, and I was just going to get on with a job and just try and solve the problem that's in front of you. And I think with them 3 fundamental things, if you do that in life and in business, you can't go far wrong. Make a decision. So decide, work hard, and then your achievements will come. It's kind of, it's quite a simple way of looking at things, but it's kind of the way that I did. And so I worked hard, and, I won more tasks than anyone else. I lost less tasks than anyone else. I was never in the final 3 of the boardroom. I was the best candidate. And that's the reality. I was the best candidate, and that's why I won. So
that obviously got you a job, a placement, whatever you want to call it, with Alan's company. Sorry, Lord Sugar's company.
Lord Sugar, yeah.
If he picked me up on that. Tell us about that. Tell us about the year after.
It was brilliant. I was really lucky because we have to cast the viewers and the listeners' minds back to 2008. So 2008, it was the 4th series. So I was, we'd only been on BBC One for 2 seasons. The first 2 seasons were on BBC Two. Then they transformed it into BBC One. It's quite funny, actually, Dan. You watch it now, everyone's so slick. They look amazing. Like, you just think, wow. You go back to my series and you just look rough. But, it is what it is, modern technology. So it's series 4, 2008. And to win, I did get a job. Because it was the 6-figure salary, getting a job situation rather than a business plan. But I did actually have the best of both worlds, because I actually got to start a business from scratch with him and his son, Simon Sugar, which was amazing. So it was a digital media business called McQueen. And we had no previous trading whatsoever at McQueen. I walked into the boardroom, my first meeting with him and his son, Simon, and Lord Sugar said to me, Lee, we're going to start a business. It's called McQueen, and it's a digital media business. And that was it. It was such a blank canvas. We had an organization that we actually acquired to have some IP around the technology. But other than that, it was a blank canvas. And we set to work. I was a development director, and my job was to go and develop relationships and develop business and get the business off the ground with his son, Simon. It was superb. I learned so much. We signed a massive lucrative contract with BP within 7 months of starting the business, because we went after the petrol station convenience network by putting digital screens into the petrol stations. And then BP, Total, Assor, Shell, they all just fell into line, essentially. It wasn't that easy, but that's what happened. And the business went pan-European. We were selling advertising space on the screens. And then we partnered with an advertising business as well. And I think they've evolved that business now. And I think McQueen, still going really strong today, is now a hardware provider more than a kind of an advertising provider. But in its early days, we did both. Yeah, and it was a fantastic journey, one that I'm very fond of. And I always say this, and this is a true story, like, I always wanted to set my own business up. I always wanted to do something. I remember going traveling in the year 2000. Years and years ago. No, in fact, it'd be 20 years next Friday that I actually flew out traveling. Can you believe that? That is where has time gone? It's absolutely incredible. And the reason why that story is quite interesting is because I remember being away traveling, backpack and whatever, and actually bought a diary and started writing a business plan for a business idea that I had 20 years ago. But I never acted on it because I never had the courage or the confidence or the conviction to go and do that. You
haven't got it
way too wet behind the ears. I haven't done anything yet. Do you know what I mean? So to actually do the whole capita piece and to go and build a business or manage a business, never the director, but manage a business, 32 million turnover, 30 staff working for me, and then to go on the Apprentice, and then to build a business with Lord Sugar and Simon. This was giving me the gravitas. This was giving me the courage. This was giving me the confidence to say I can go and set my own company up. And after 2.5 years, I decided that's what I was going to go and do, and I set up Raw Talent.
Yeah. So when you were working with Simon Sugar on Amscreen, so was it an equity play or was it a job? You know, was it a salary job? And if it was the latter, did that sort of determine why you wanted to move on? Because you always had that drive to run your own thing, yeah, I guess, or not?
Yeah, I'd say spot on. I mean, I was very well paid. What's advertised and what we get in terms of basic salary versus packages and all that sort of stuff, that's up to you to negotiate. And I was very, very well paid. And I had to walk away from a big paid job, and they looked after me, and it was brilliant. I loved it. However, I'm an absolute believer, Dan, in that you have to be passionate about what you do. I think, and digital media was exciting. Like I said, I take you back to 2008. There was no digital media about. It was, it sounds so weird. It's everywhere now. But the only screens that were kind of digital billboards, for want of a better expression, was a Clear Channel set in Tottenham Court Road tube station. That was it. And then we come up. So we were quite early on in what we're doing. I mean, they're everywhere now. But that's really not my thing. My thing was people, and it was recruitment, and that was what I learned my trade in, so to speak. That is what I was really good at, and I felt that if I was going to go and set my own company up, it would have to be in a business that I really understood, in a market, a sector that I really knew, and that's what it was. It was recruitment. I set Raw Talent up. So
tell us about that. Tell us about Raw Talent, because obviously it's been going for 9 years since 2000.
Yeah, nearly 10 years. Yeah. So Raw Talent was set up as a bit of a disruptor, because, whenever anybody, most people, when they think about early careers, they think about graduate recruitment. That's what they think. They go grads. So we're going to hire some grads, and grads is almost a term in the recruitment sector, like Hoover is in the vacuum cleaner sector. So Hoover coined a phrase. They have a business themselves, but you call it a Hoover because you're going to Hoover up, right? Yeah. So grads, it was, we need some grads. But so it was a term which was basically, you don't really need grads, but it was a term that everybody did. So we had some massive players, and they're still going, and they're still brilliant as well, the key competitors. Graduate Fast Track, Grad Web, Metamorphes, Pareto Law being the biggest one. Lots of different grads. So whenever you wanted to go to an early careers, to go and hire early careers, you went to a grad shop. Does that make sense? Or a grad recruitment agency. Being that I've already talked to you about my challenges in academia, I'm not a grad, as it probably has already transpired. So I wanted to go and set something up that was, let's rip up the CV. Let's not worry about if you're a grad or if you're not, you're a non-grad. Let's worry about you. Let's hire people based on personality, behaviors, and competencies. Let's hire people based on attitude. Let's hire people that actually want to do the graft, that actually want to succeed and do well, and actually let's test them to see if they've got what it takes to come and work for our clients or our businesses. So what we did is we ripped up the CV, and we don't hire based on a CV or a resume. We hire based on attitude, personality, behavior, and skill, and competency. And we train for skill. And the way we do that is by running people assessments, virtual assessments, people assessments across the globe. And we took the business from a small business in Oxfordshire to running global programs in Singapore, in Miami, in Los Angeles, in Texas, Austin, mainland Europe, Germany, Holland, whatever, running these programs for organizations that were stuck. They were stuck about, we always do the same thing for hiring, so we wanted to do something different. And it's been relatively successful for the time it's been doing it.
Well, it's been going for 9 years. So I guess it's been very successful, because obviously a lot of businesses that start first few years don't know what the stat is, but 80% don't make it. So you've got to be doing something right to sort of get through that period.
For sure.
So I'm assuming that obviously during that journey, you had the seeds of what you've now launched, Phoenix 51, because obviously they sort of complement each other, right? And I guess
they do. So actually, they're actually more entwined
Yeah.
in the story than first thought. So let me explain. So about 3 years ago in the raw talent business, we've got this brilliant concept with brilliant business, and we're winning business around the planet, as I've said.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's all done on paper, Dan. So we're taking some brilliant data points, behaviors, observations, understandings of these brilliant individuals, but our clients and the data that we're taking is written on paper or on Excel spreadsheets or, using Post-it notes. And it was just really inefficient. So about maybe 3.5 years ago, I went out to market to find a digital people assessment tool, a platform that would digitalize that process. So instead of our line managers or hiring manager community being able to get their pad and pen out and start writing handwritten notes, I wanted them to be able to electronically or digitally take them data points down. So we could start looking at graphs, and we could start looking at insights, and we could start looking at key areas that would really help us make them decisions on people. But there wasn't really anything around 3.5 years ago, and I'm a bit fussy. So there probably was a couple of players out there, but I didn't really want to go with that. So stupidly or brilliantly, I invested £250,000 in building our own platform.
Yeah.
So we did. So we built the platform, started the platform build, and we started to roll that out to our current clients in raw talent. So, a client, some of our financial services clients or our media clients, our technology clients would benefit from having this digital process that they never normally would have had, even with our competitors. It was like a value add. And our 51st user of the platform asked to buy it directly. They said to us, "Would you sell it to us directly?" And we said, "Okay, yeah, why not?" So went back to the office thinking, how am I going to do that? So we started to extract the kind of the platform from its embedded kind of proprietary situation in raw talent to a standalone business. And that's why we called the business Phoenix 51. It was the 51st user of the platform that asked to buy it direct, and it was born out of raw talent. So
this is quite interesting. I think a lot of people I speak to have started new strands to their businesses after looking for a piece of kit for their existing business.
Yeah.
They didn't feel worked. So, and actually definitely during this time as well, last 7 or 8 months. So I'm speaking to a chap that runs a content optimization company for the entertainment industry. And they also produce films and social media content.
Yeah.
And like you, he's been running for 18 years, and for the last sort of 5 years, he's been using other people's tools. So during the pandemic, because business slowed down, they had time to focus on building his own tool. And now software as a service, he's released it into various businesses. So
yeah, it makes sense.
You obviously, this is launched recently, right? Sort of September.
Yeah, so September, it's like 8 weeks ago, I think it was 8 weeks yesterday that we launched. But we've been building this for the last kind of 8 or 9 months, really. And actually, as you said, through the COVID times. And our plan, Dan, was always to launch Phoenix 51 as a business in 2020. But obviously 2020 kicked over, and within like 9 weeks, we're in a global pandemic, and the raw talent business is, 90% of the revenue's fallen off a cliff because it's recruitment, it's perm recruitment, and people are just like, well, we're in lockdown, we're not recruiting anymore. So that was like, see you later. So that was hovering there at a kind of 10% of a shadow of itself, as it were, of 10% rather than the 100. And I don't know, we made a decision. My business partner Chris got involved with a business in November 19, so a year ago, and I had a meeting with him, and I sort of said, look, it was a virtual meeting, of course, because that's what 2020's all been about. And I said, look, what should we do? Should we cry in our porridge, stick our face in our porridge and just cry and just see what happens? Or do we roll our sleeves up and launch it anyway and just go for it? And we made one massive fundamental change in that decision. And we said that we need to embed video technology into our platform so that you can actually start running virtual assessments. So not people assessments, face to face, but actually virtually, like we're doing now. So we embedded video technology into the platform for our tech team, which are brilliant, and we launched. And we've managed to sign up a few clients actually already, which has been very, very pleasing.
I'm going to show the video in a second. So it's interesting that your existing business was obviously, it was difficult, and for no fault of your own, like a lot of people, solid business, no problem with it, and then something comes along that we can't do anything about, and then you took the time to then sort of, and the word is pivot, which I hate using.
Yeah.
Much using it, to sort of then focus on this. And I guess when the other business picks up, which it will do, because why wouldn't it? Then you've come out of this with two strands to.
Exactly our thinking. You know.
Yeah.
The thing is about the raw talent business, and look, I've made a fantastic living out of it over the last kind of 10 years or nearly 10 years. It's been lovely. It's been absolutely my passion, but it's a reset button every month. There's no annuity revenue coming in from that business at all. There's no long-term contracts. It's project work. So, you know, Dan, you come to me, you say, I'm looking for 6 people, no problem at all. We wrap the raw talent model around that. We go out there, we build that project for you. We get paid for it. Fantastic. Yeah. But then we have to go again. So where's the next Dan? Where's the next Dan? And look, that's fine, but there's no long-term kind of annuity strategy or annuity revenue coming in. With the SaaS model, it's completely different. You know, you'll go out there, you'll sign a contract, a client for 2 years, maybe 3 years in a contract. And look, it's really early days. Don't get me wrong. We are a startup. Sure, we're signing a contract and have got annuity or annual recurring revenue for a year, 2 years, 3 years on that one client. And actually, as long as we continue to service that client through the development of our platform, then there's no reason why they won't renew. So it becomes a completely different business model.
Can you just bring it to life? You've spoken to us about what gave you the idea, but tell us what it does, who it's for, etc.
Well, I think primarily the tool is for any organization really that is looking to assess people. Now, I've got a massive belief, or we have at Phoenix 51, that people are your most important asset, as I've just said on the explainer video. And it's actually staggering, Dan, that the amount of resource and time and data that we put into other things that aren't as important as our people, yet when it comes to our people, we write a couple of hand scribbled notes on a bit of paper, we look at a CV, we do maybe 1 or 2 type of interviews, and then we hire, or we make a decision based on that. We make a decision based on purely on gut feel, or we make a decision based on the fact that we like them. There's a lot of unconscious bias that goes into making a decision when a human's involved. And Phoenix 51 doesn't eradicate unconscious bias. It just mitigates against it, because what we're actually doing is we're wrapping key development pathways around the skills gaps. So your strengths or your weaknesses, we can look at them. We've got the key data points to say Dan's good at this, but Dan's not so good at this. He does fit in with our culture and our values, but we need to wrap these training development programs around that side of things. So that's a tool of onboarding and benchmarking and promotion of employees. Also a recruitment tool. Obviously, everybody would say, "Oh, it's a recruitment tool," but it's the whole journey. It's the whole people journey. Yeah. If you're recruiting people based on key values and cultures and behaviors, then why wouldn't you be benchmarking your employees against the same thing? And why wouldn't you be promoting your employees against the same thing? So it's a continuous journey. So what we've created, and not trying to be clever about it either, because there's other platforms that are around. There's lots of different assessment platforms out there now. But where we come from is that we've recognized that adoption of the technology is massive. If you've got a 1,000 staff business, and say, I don't know, 30% of that business hires or has staff management, line managers or whatever. So that means 300 people are hiring in a different way or benchmarking in a different way. You haven't got any standardization. It's probably not digitalized. A lot of the people, like I say, 79% through Deloitte Insights, by the way, but 79% of global businesses will still use pen and paper to assess whether or not that's a screening process or an interview process, which again, data-wise, it doesn't stack up in the world that we live in right now. So
if that person leaves the business, they leave with the insights into who they were recruiting and all that sort of stuff. So it provides continuity, right?
Exactly that. Yeah. But the most important thing is talking about adoption is simplified. Yeah. You'll never get rocket science from me at all, but being simple about something is saying, what we're looking at doing is we're challenging the organizations that are still using, archaic methods in our opinion. Sorry to be, if that sounds rude, but it's true.
Yeah.
And actually coming into an age where we've got 5G now, you can start watching holograms or whatever in the shopping centre. Yet you're hiring people based on handwritten notes and a post-it. I mean, it just doesn't comply. It just doesn't make sense. So we just wanted to modernize that. But actually, that early adoption piece is the hiring manager, 300 on that example, hiring manager or line managers within the business that are stuck in their ways. We wanted to build a platform that they would be able to look at, understand really quickly, and just get on with doing the job at hand, saving them time, having a quality product, and ultimately saving them money by getting the better hires or the better promotions within their business, which ultimately is going to cut down on waste.
So absolutely. So obviously at this time, in certain industries, not every industry, people are cutting staff, not necessarily hiring. But correct me if I'm wrong, this solution, as you said, it's not just about recruitment. It can assess their existing staff and talent pool. And in a funny way, it's really useful because at the moment, I know when I'm talking to businesses, they're redeploying people.
Exactly that.
Right?
Exactly.
So this can help do that as well.
For sure. And, we've got different kind of setups, or we call them frameworks. So we've got different setups or frameworks in the platform that will enable clients to be able to do it. So if you're hiring, you'll use a different framework than if you were promoting or if you were restructuring. It's not a nice subject to talk about, restructuring or redundancy or letting people go. But the reality of the situation is, like you've just pointed out, Dan, is that especially now we're in a situation where businesses have to do certain things to survive and they have to make tough decisions. What better way to make a tough decision when it comes to your people than having the facts and the data and the insights in front of you to make the right decision? Our system isn't about computer tells you, you do this, you do that. You still make the decision. All that our platform is doing is giving you the insights to help you better understand why you should take that decision. And on top of that as well, the automated feedback, as you'd have seen in the explainer video, is a game changer, because everyone in recruitment, if you're being recruited, if you're being hired, if you've been missed out on promotion as an employee, or if you've been up for redundancy or restructure, they all want to know why. So you're now eradicating any unconscious bias around you only hired Dan because of X, or you hired Lee because he wore glasses, or you didn't hire me because I wore glasses or I had my collar up, or whatever. Eradicated. That's gone. What you're also eradicating is if you're hiring, so you might have 500, 600, 700 applications for one role, and that's very common now, Dan, especially in pre-COVID, or sorry, post-COVID. You might have huge amounts of applications that you're not even giving feedback to. Our system automates it. You don't even have to worry about it. If you've scored in the way, in that structured, interviewed way, you've increased your opportunity of getting the best person. You've also decreased your brand devaluing, because everybody's got the reasons as to why they didn't get hired. And similarly, on the other side of the coin, if you've unfortunately had to restructure and let people go from your organization, all of your staff that you've had to let go, they understand why. They know the reasons why. Oh, I know why you kept Dan and you let Lee go. I know that now because of these are the reasons, and these are my skills gaps, and this is what I need to go and work on. So to me, it just makes sense. It's simple for everybody to use, intuitive, but it gives you some real data points so that we can actually make better informed decisions.
And in terms of the industries that you're currently working with or you're approaching, is this fit for purpose for any company, I guess, of a certain size, because they've got multiple offices in multiple territories? Give us a sense of who would use it.
So if I'm honest, you probably look at anything between 50 to 5,000 employees. You've got that big enterprise. We've done some deals with some big enterprise organizations, the likes of CenturyLink, which is a $23 billion organization that just rebranded actually to Lumen. They're a technology business, massive global technology business. We work with smaller technology businesses. We work with financial services companies. We work actually quite heavily in the media. I'm quite interested to hear Claudine Collins' feedback when she comes on to you, because she bought our platform. with MediaCom. So I think that there's, they are quite varied. I think what would say we've got some development coming, a technology roadmap and some development version 1.2, version 1.3 coming through. And I suppose over the next 2-3 months or so, we want to get to a situation where our clients can self-serve. So actually they can go into the platform. So this will be kind of your smaller, medium-sized businesses, be able to go onto the platform, log in, run what they need to run, and then log out, rather than actually subscribing for a longer period of time. And that will be servicing the kind of smaller companies, the 20 head companies, 30 head companies, that type of thing. So it's a licensing model, right? So I guess the commercials are depending on how many staff they've got, etc. Yeah, well, at the moment we've got an early adoption commercial model going on. So at the moment it's all about not proving a concept. We know it's been beaten up around the world. Like I said to you before, it's been used everywhere. Massive multinational companies, small organisations have used the system. People have now bought the system directly. So, but it's about really getting that early adoption in. Come on and seeing how you can use it. And especially now, Dan, when most businesses are worried about scaling up or still growing or still recruiting or making them redundancies or restructuring, as you said, what tool is out there at the moment that can actually help you and support you in them decisions and give you a better experience and save money at the same time? It's Phoenix 51.
Yeah, and also I think at this time I speak to a lot of business leaders, specifically in the exhibition space, that have got many offices around the world. They're backed by private equity.
Yeah.
There are opportunities for them to buy up other businesses. Now, when you buy a business, you've then got to implement, immerse that business and their staff within the existing business.
Yeah.
I guess it can help with that as well, right?
Well, again, I think it's a really good example, Dano. It's just take that. So you buy a business, you've got business A and you buy a business B and you want to merge them together. Business A has got a back office function and so has business B.
Yeah.
So regardless of how big you are, whether it's a 10-person business on each, so you're merging a 20-person company, or it's, 20,000 staff each. The reality is you probably only need one operational function. You probably only need one financial function or back office function. So you've got to make a decision relatively quickly for morale, for your team, for the people that are coming in, which function you're going to keep. Is it function A or function B? It doesn't work like that. It might be an amalgamation of them. But ultimately, when an acquisition normally happens, you're going to probably lose people before you start to grow. And what better way to actually understand the best possible people to keep or the best possible people to lose or whatever it might be than using an assessment technology, or Phoenix 51, of course. There is others out there, but ours is probably the best. But whatever, what better way to do that? Having data on, this is what Dan's good at. This is what Dan's not so good at. This is what Lee's good at. This is what Lee's not so good at. Oh, actually, let's keep Dan and we'll get rid of Lee. I mean, that sounds callous, but
I've stayed in the job.
Exactly. But and you get that feedback as well. And that sounds callous, but actually, again, being simple about it, what you're eradicating them difficult decisions based on nothing. I quite like Dan, so should we keep Dan? Hang on a minute, that's not the right business decision. Let's get the data. Let's understand what their performances have been about. What are the key behaviors and skills and values that Dan has? Is he aligned? Look, Dan was brilliant in company B, but we're not company B anymore. We're company C, because that's what we are now, and maybe Dan doesn't align to our beliefs.
Well, there might be a better position for
exactly. Maybe we could reposition Dan somewhere else, etc., etc.
I'd like to go to the Caribbean if possible. So
I think we've got that on there. So
we can make that happen virtually.
We can make that happen, mate. No problem.
A lot of my community, I guess, are within the events and exhibition space. So big trade show organisers. So I guess this would be potentially useful for them.
For sure.
Yeah. On coming back to virtual, and we've all had virtual meetings and stuff like that. The events and exhibitions industry has obviously been going through a tough time, specifically trade shows, because they can't run them. What's your opinion on virtual events, and have you attended anything within your industry sector recently?
Yeah, so I'm a big advocate, because part of my tool is virtual. So I think exponentially COVID-19 sped that process up. I think without a shadow of a doubt. I think that people knew who Zoom were before COVID-19, but you've got to be sleeping in a cave if you don't know who Zoom are now, or Teams, for example. And that we have become very reliant on them. And actually, it's replaced phone calls. If you think about it, when was the last time you took an old school phone call? Look, typically now people go, do you want to jump on Zoom? Or should we just quickly jump on Teams? So it becomes, you're almost having a face-to-face meeting even more now than what you was before. So that's quite interesting. In terms of actual virtual summits or, gatherings, I've done quite a few in our industry. And I think they're really important. Look, part of the raw talent business is immersing yourself in and around other people, so you can get the team spirit, you can understand, you can watch, you observe, and there's no doubt that via a screen something is different. Like, you can't sit there and say that it isn't. But we ran a via Phoenix 51 and Raw Talent joint partnership, we ran a virtual assessment in Los Angeles about 2.5 weeks ago. There was 25 candidates involved. So, it wasn't an event like most of your audience will be used to, but it was an event nonetheless. They did 5 different business style tasks, and it was about getting the job. And we was in the UK, sitting at my exact desk that I'm sitting at now in my home office, and they're in Los Angeles, and it ran perfectly brilliantly. So I think that we're very adaptable, aren't we? Human beings, as a race, humans are very adaptable, and I think that word is very prominent in 2020. We have had to adapt, and I think that the people that don't adapt, and this might sound a bit callous, so people might think I'm an idiot here, but if you don't adapt, you get left behind. It's simple as that. You have to adapt. That would be my takeaway from today. You have to look at what else can I do? What it's outside your comfort zone, but that's where you're going to learn. So how can we adapt our industry or our business or our offering in order to be able to not only to survive, but actually to thrive? And there will be companies that are thriving in this environment.
Yeah, I think you're right. I speak to a lot of business leaders or individuals, even myself doing this. As you say, you can sit around and cry and, I was doing that and I'm not doing it anymore. But actually, it presents opportunities, isn't it? So just jumping in, not knowing where it's going to lead, is not only exciting, but it invariably will lead somewhere.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think, and I used these 2 words earlier as well, confidence and courage. And I use them in my own journey. And I'm not sitting there being Mr. Arrogant going, yeah, you should just get on and do it. I've got that confidence and that courage from previous experiences, and it worked out pretty well. So, in this scenario as well, go for it. I mean, like I said to you before, if I'd have sat there and cried, Phoenix 51 wouldn't be talking about it. Now, we've got 11 customers on Phoenix 51 already. Some decent, some very good logos already. We only officially launched 8 weeks ago. So, if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be sitting here with them new customers on a new journey. So I would encourage people to adapt to the change and be innovative. Think outside of the realms of what we currently have always done and do something different.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. As I said, there's a lot of people out there that also, a bit scared, maybe a bit younger as well. This is their first real sort of bump in the road. Let's say there's someone that's, 20, 22 years old, or just come out of university or haven't been to university, and they've never experienced this sort of thing. What would your advice be to them if there was a younger Lee McQueen and this happened?
I wish there was a younger Lee McQueen, to be honest.
There probably will be.
Got a lot of grey going on now. Do you know what? I wouldn't. I don't think anyone's perfect, and that's one of the reasons why Phoenix 51 is such a good platform, is because you're having to find fault in everybody before you hire them, before you bring them on, before you promote them. And it's the same thing with business as well. There's no one perfect. You actually learn from the mistakes that you make. You actually learn from the failures that you have. There would be not one successful business man or woman on this planet that would sit there and go, never made a mistake. No, never had a failure, because that's BS.
Yeah.
Right? And to my younger self, or to the people coming out of uni or whatever, I would say you've still got to go for it. You've still got to be able to look at it, and you will make mistakes. And them mistakes are the things that make you realize, can you do this? Can you get up again? When you've got people chasing you, you've got no cash. Cash is king in a small business. And when you're setting up, but like you said before, I think it's 80%, die in the first 6 months. 85% of the British economy is set up based on small business. So if we don't have small business, we are killing our entire British economy. So we are the lifeblood. People like us, businesses that are setting up, we are the lifeblood. But you've got to have that conviction, or that in your beliefs and in your idea. If you're starting up a business and you're not sure if the idea is right or not, don't go and ask your family. They're going to tell you it's brilliant. Yeah. Your mum's going to say, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, Lee. Yeah, of course, it's amazing." Go and ask other people. Go and ask people who've got no affiliation to your business that you don't mind getting criticism from, because they are the nuggets. They're the bits that you go, right, okay, that's where I can learn from. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Start to worry if you keep making the same mistake and you don't correct it. That's where that's where.
But at this time, there's no point sitting around waiting for someone to help you out, because you'll invariably then be disappointed. Also, you can apply for a job and be one of 1,000 people. Still do that, but realistically, it's like a haystack. But try and do something to build your
exactly. I think it's interesting when you talk about kind of singularly, as if you're looking for a job, you've got to stand out. You've got to stand out from the crowd. You mentioned to me earlier, for the Apprentice, did you have to do a video thing? I didn't in my series, but I can guarantee you now they all do. We use video all the time, as in the raw talent business, via Phoenix 51 with the embedded video technology. Because it's an opportunity like you're doing now. You could have easily just done this as a podcast, but you want to see, you want to watch, you want to observe. You get to see and hear my passion. It's not just about hearing it. You can see it in me. It's not fake. You can't fake this stuff. And that's why people use video. So you've got to stand out from the crowd. You've got to when you put your application in, this is why we ripped up the CVs. What we're going to read 5,000 CVs that all say the same thing. I'm a hardworking, young, conscientious individual. I mean, they all say the same stuff.
I like cooking.
Exactly. We want to see you, don't we? We're hiring you. We're not hiring a description that somebody's written off the internet. And I think that is the key thing. So stand out from the crowd. Put your hand up. Be different. Not in a horrible way or in a damaging way, but be different, be bold, be you, and you will look for jobs that suit you. The companies that have got the same values and cultures as you. What are your beliefs? What do you actually believe in? I'm not talking about religion here and stuff. I'm talking about what you believe in. Now, if you believe that we should be carbon neutral, and that is absolutely your belief, and that's what you should be going to look for a job that has that effect in it. You wouldn't go and rock up at a job that don't care about being carbon neutral, would you? Because it just doesn't fit. So we've got enough.
It's simple but brilliant advice. I
would say
I don't want to leave you without getting your views. I'm sure you've got one on the government's handling of the pandemic, and what you think the future lies, because you talk about SMEs, and in some industries, hospitality, events, obviously yourself, some support's been there, not a lot. What's your view on how they've handled it? And obviously, it's been a difficult challenge because
well, let's start off by saying that. It's. I know it's been banded around so many times. It is unprecedented. Like no one's been through this before ever on the planet, right? So, maybe in the Spanish flu times or whatever, but certainly in this era, in the modern era, we haven't seen anything like this. So we'll start off by that. And regardless of who I vote, that's got nothing to do with this conversation, right? Regardless of who I vote, but when you look at Boris and you look at what the government have done. They had an opportunity, specifically Boris had an opportunity to be absolutely brilliant. I mean, this guy could have been knighted off the back of what he could have done. And he made some horrendous decisions. Now, it goes back to what we were just saying about before. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. He's got the top job. He's made mistakes. He's not afraid to do that. But he's made some proper clangers. The first clanger for me was the whole Dominic Cummings affair. Where that is where he lost complete public trust. This is a guy that got COVID himself, went into hospital on a ventilator, and it was touch and go for for a couple of days, even for a couple of hours. Horrendous injury. I've had COVID myself. I had it in March. I know how bad it can be. Really? It's not. I'm lucky. My wife and three daughters have all had it as well, so we've been lucky. And my heart goes out to everybody that's lost people. But Boris had it pretty bad. He was on a ventilator, right? So he had it pretty bad. He could have come out, Dan, and been a hero, to come out to say, this is what we're going to do. Be decisive. Make sure that we're going to give the support that we need for businesses, that we need for families, that we need for care homes. and really align that and say, this is, come on, get behind me. And there was a point where people were behind him. There was a point, there were people, and then the Dominic Cummings thing happened, and everybody, including myself, just lost trust. It's like, what are you doing? And he could have resolved that by sacking Dominic Cummings straight away.
He's gone 8 months later.
He's gone 8 months later. So all of the damage during that 8 months is done, and then he's gone anyway.
Yeah.
And what an absolute wasted opportunity, I think. So I think, to sum up, I think the governments have wasted opportunity. I think that they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't, regardless of global pandemic or not. Because if you don't vote Conservative, they're damned, and if you do go, you don't. If you vote Conservatives, then you don't. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. I think that from an NHS point of view, I think we've handled it actually brilliantly. I have to be honest. I think that the clapping for carers, I don't think that was fake. I think that was genuine. I think that
no, it was.
NHS
My youngest daughter was doing it, and it also provided an outlet, I think, for people.
Yeah, for sure. I think that
understand what's going on, and
the Brits, us Brits have a, and this is a global pandemic. It's not just Britain, is it? But us Brits have a real way of coming together and that kind of fighting spirit and that sort of stuff. And I think Boris didn't capitalise on that enough. I think from a business perspective, look, we've been massively affected. I know your industry has been hugely affected, and people listening and watching to this now, or some of you will be distraught in where you've been. Just hang in there. It will come back. Like, we will get back to a scenario. I'm absolutely glass half full. I'm absolutely optimistic we'll get back into a situation. I think that the comfort, if that's the right word, that we can take is that it wasn't your fault. Like, your business hasn't gone under because it was your fault. It was because of a global pandemic that, in hindsight, we wasn't prepared for. But be strong, keep strong, and we will come back, because that's what we do, right? If that is the type of individuals that we are and the type of people that we are in this country.
Sage advice. I could talk to you for hours, but we will leave it there because you've got a business to build.
For sure.
Talk to me all day. So Lee McQueen, CEO of Phoenix 51 and Raw Talent Academy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dan.
And we wish you the best of luck with it. And we'll come back and have you on another time to talk about more clients that you brought on board.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want any questions or anybody wants to get in touch or anything, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me easily on LinkedIn, or phoenix51.io is our website. So that'll be absolutely brilliant. And good luck to everybody. Thanks for having me, Dan.